Hello, my name is Mr. Polk and welcome to my kitchen. Today I'd like to take a look at showing you how to make different types of chocolate decorations that you could put on your cake. I'll show you some different styles, how we can make the little plaques, how we could just make some freeform designs. Just want to show you some different things that you could make to put on your cake. Okay, so what we'd like to do now is I want to show you how to make the chocolate plaques. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a piece of acetate. And I use the acetate because the chocolate, it makes it shinier. But if you're at home and you just want to use the parchment paper or wax paper, any of that works. And what you do is, this is in reverse. So you're going to draw a design that's going to show up on the plaque. So you could do little zigzags back and forth, or sometimes I get creative and just make little squiggly wigglies here, get it all set up. And then what you need to do is you need to let that harden. Now, one thing you're going to notice is I'm doing it on my granite slab. And that's because granite doesn't really change temperature very quickly. So it allows the chocolate to actually harden almost out in the open without putting it in the fridge. And it hardens evenly. If you've ever done this at home and then stuck something in the fridge like this, and then when you took it out of the fridge it curls up, because it hardened unevenly and then it curls. This keeps it nice and flat. So now our next step is, after this hardens, we're going to then put the dark chocolate over top. So now that we have the white chocolate down, and you could also use colored cocoa butter and some other things. Now that the white chocolate's down, it's time to put your dark. And this is just a coating chocolate that you just had to melt in the microwave. And what I do is I just kind of tap the chocolate down on top of the acetate, kind of enough to coat it. And then I like to use my offset spatula, and you're just going to spread it back and forth. And here's the thing with chocolate. People think that chocolate just goes from liquid like this, and then it goes right from being liquid to being hard. But there's an in-between phase. So what we're going to do is we're going to spread this stuff out here until it's nice and smooth. And then we're just going to wait for it to set up. And we're going to wait for it to set up into that in-between phase where it's kind of solid but kind of not. And what that's going to allow us to do is that's going to allow us to cut it into shapes. Okay? So right now, it might be hard to see in the camera, but right now the chocolate is shiny because it's wet. What we want to wait for is we want to wait for it to sort of kind of dull over. And as soon as it gets dull, then we're going to cut it into shapes. So now that the chocolate has kind of like dulled over, like we say, it's solid but not solid, you can actually cut it. And we're going to cut it into these diamond shapes. Now we're going to use a ruler. We'll do the width of the ruler. And I'm cutting with the knife, but listen. I want to cut deep enough so that I cut the chocolate, but I don't want to cut so deep so that I cut the acetate. Okay? And then you're going to cut this way, all the way across. And then I like to turn my knife, or my ruler rather, at an angle like this, and then cut this way all the way across. So I'll continue cutting that way, and then I will continue cutting this way all the way through. I'll just keep moving the ruler. Alright, and making really nice cuts. And then what I'm going to do is, now I can carefully put this in the cooler and let it set up. And you don't want to release it right away. If you try to release it right away, the chocolate isn't totally cured, and what's going to happen is it's going to pull away from the acetate and not be as shiny. So I'm going to carefully lift this up to show you that this is the pattern on the back side. Okay? All of those cool little designs from the white chocolate are going to show up in the chocolate pieces. So whatever you do is going to show up. Okay? So while the chocolate plaques are setting up, I'd like to show you some other things we could make. One is you could just take regular chocolate, a little chocolate bar. You could take your peeler, make little curls with it. Okay? Or you can melt the chocolate like we did and put it in a bag, and we could pipe things out. One is you could just pipe out these little discs like this. So you just, pipe out a disc, and then take your spatula and just sort of pull the disc like that. And it makes a pretty cool design that you can put on top of a project or on top of your cake. Another one that I like to make is I make just these little circles. Like I just take my chocolate and just sort of drizzle it around like that. It just makes these little tiny decor pieces. And then another one you could do is this is an older one of mine. It's like these little hearts. Just kind of go up and over. And you can put those on top of your cake. So really, if you have some chocolate, you can just melt it and you can just make up some designs and then just set these in the cooler for a little bit. They don't have to go in the freezer, just in the cooler till they set up. And then we'll take a look at all of our designs. So now let's take a look at what we made after they've set up in the fridge. The diamonds, if we come in here and carefully break them apart, you can see that these diamonds have the little stripe pattern on them. The ones over on this side, these are a little fancier. These had the little squiggles, so you can see how nice they look. And then the freeform stuff is really neat. You just have to peel them off your acetate very carefully, and you can see where something like this will look really cool on the top of a cake. These guys, these look great on the top of a rosette. You just lay them like that. If you had those all over your cake, they'd look really cool. And then these look good. You just kind of stick these into a rosette. They just give you something really fancy. So here you can see that, just by taking some time and playing around, you can make some different decorations to put on top of a cake using chocolate. You can make the little plaques. You can make these little freeform shapes. Pretty much, once you get the chocolate in a bag and start to pipe, the sky's the limit. So thank you for baking with me today, and I can't wait to bake with you real soon right here in Mr. Polk's Kitchen.